Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and I have a 1-year-old son. I started this podcast for any mother who might feel alone in their journey through motherhood. Becoming a mom is hard no matter how you get there, and this podcast is about the mom stuff that comes up in our lives. Listen, enjoy, and connect with us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host. And again, it is just me all of January. It's just the way it is. I don't have any other guests, and mostly it's because of my schedule. It has nothing to do with that anyone doesn't have time or whatnot. Everyone actually is trying to make time, and I just don't have the time unless people want to stay up super, super late to record with me, and no one wants to do that, just so you know. But I wanted to start off just by saying that today's show is about my comfort shows that I watch. And I came up with this idea in the sugar fast that I'm currently in right now. And I'm currently a little sick also. So I'm going to try not to have too many annoying clearing of the throats on this episode. I will stop it. But during the sugar fast, one of the things that we look at is not just what do you run to besides sugar, but just what do you run to in general. And there's a lot of things that I do run to besides just sugar. And I think some of it is when you are a mother of a child who is not independent, which could be of any age. It is very, very hard to find time for yourself. And a lot of things that I do, like I have a limit on my apps for social media for 30 minutes a day, and I don't go over that. If it says the time limit is up, then I don't go on it. However, I try my best not to go on it around my son and or my husband. Like it's only when like I have alone time. But let me tell you, I do not have 30 minutes of alone time at all during the day. So yeah, I look at social media around both my son and my husband, and I try and really limit it while my son is maybe occupied doing something. At nighttime we watch TV, and we watch what he wants to watch for TV for a half an hour. So that's normally the time that I use to go on to social media. And there's not like a ton of things that I'm looking for, but unfortunately, like the sugar fast stuff is all on social media. So I'm trying to keep up with that and trying to stay off. And I don't know. It's it's very hard to manage and juggle and try and figure out, trying to be a better person, trying not to run to sugar, trying to run more to things that matter, and also getting that balance of, you know what, I need to go to the bathroom by myself at least one time during the day where no one is knocking on the door or waiting, or that I have to hurry up because there's a line for the bathroom, like at work. So it gets a little hard to manage sometimes because I physically need time to myself. That's like, no one's talking to me. No one's asking me to do something. So I've really been reflecting on things and really looking at the comfort shows. And I will say, like, comfort TV shows, I have some. I would say I have way more issues with podcasts. I'm obsessed with podcasts. I don't want to say I'm obsessed with podcasts. That's weird. But, I love Disney and I like to learn about all things Disney. So there are so many podcasts out there that I can listen to and learn about and enjoy that I could listen to that all day long. And so that's what I'm trying to cut back at, is just not have everything be about Disney, things like that. But anyways, let's get into my comfort shows. And these are the shows that typically I have watched over and over again. I know what's going to happen. And not only do I know what's going to happen, but they have to be happy and uplifting, because I really struggle with having shows that are upsetting. I tried to watch, I can't even think of what it's called, but it's this, I can't watch like Law and Order. I can't watch um I want to say it's Jack Ryan, but that's not it. Whatever John Krasinski is in on that Amazon show, uh, I cannot watch that show. And that is something that totally would have been something that I would have watched before. And I can't have anything that's even like a little violent or has anticipation to it. Um, Nothing that is sad or depressing. My husband keeps trying to get me to watch these shows, and we'll try and start a new show. And like, we never make it past 10 minutes. I'm like, I can't do this. It's too depressing. It's always about someone's marriage failing or something like that. And it's like, no one, I don't want to imagine that people struggle in their marriages. Of course, everyone struggles in their marriage, but I don't want to sit down at the end of the day and watch a show about it. I watch, I use my comfort TV, and pretty much all my TV is comfort at this point, because I need a break, and I just want something happy, and I'd love to laugh. So let's go. I'm 6 minutes in and I still haven't said one show yet, which is so not like me. So, one of my first shows is an obvious one. It's Friends. I think it's a lot of people's shows. Of course, it's not really anymore because it's not on Netflix. So, it's not really my comfort show. And I will say that I have religiously, I think every year since it has come out, which was like back in 1994, I have at Thanksgiving time is when I actually watch Friends the most. And I kind of watch through the Thanksgiving episodes around that time of year. I don't know, that makes me feel very Thanksgiving y and just makes me feel good overall about watching Friends. And it brings back memories of my mom and I watching it when I was younger. And some of my other friends, when we used to watch the show Friends, um, it just brings me back to all that. So I do enjoy that show. One of the other shows that I totally love is Gilmore Girls. And I go back to that show over and over and over again. And there are certain seasons that's so funny. I don't know how to even say this without saying seasons. There are certain season numbers that I like at different seasons of the year. So I don't like to start the high school seasons in the wintertime. So right now, I would only watch like her college year, like Rory's college years. And summer and fall, I would watch like the beginning of the series more. And I kind of like cycle in and out of that. And I know you want to know, like, when would you even have time to watch TV if you don't have any time to yourself? So I watch TV probably in like 15-minute chunks, maybe a day. And when I don't ever really, if I'm alone, don't ever turn on a TV. I watch exclusively off my iPad. And I love watching TV off my iPad. But when I am in the shower, I will put my iPad on my sink in my bathroom, and I will have it on and watch it and watch slash listen to it. And then I will, as I'm getting ready in the morning, like getting dressed and doing my hair, that gets me like 10-15 minutes right there. And then if I'm making breakfast, if no one is awake, when I'm making breakfast in the morning, then I also watch it then. This one time this week, I got up and I worked out and I came up and I showered and I got ready and I had my breakfast. And that's like an hour and 20 minutes right there. And I was all alone. It was so nice. It was so, so nice. I really enjoyed that. And that hardly ever happens now because my son just wakes up a little earlier. Being in daycare, you don't always have control of when he takes naps and whatnot. So I'm over it, and I know that he's going to get up early. And I know part of it is he wants to get up early because now we do this whole thing in the morning with mommy and daddy. And I know that he looks forward to that also. So how many years is he going to wake up early? I mean, so I try and soak it in while I can. So that is typically when I watch TV. The only other time that I get to watch TV is when I'm making dinner. And again, if no one is around, if my husband is watching my son, then I will put my iPad on in the kitchen and like lean it on something in the kitchen on the counter. We have like a how do I describe this? We have like an island, and it also has like a it goes up to so you can have sit at stools for a countertop, so I can lean it up against that. And again, I'm not really watching TV. It's like on in the background and I can kind of hear it, which is why I often have gotten so into podcasts because you don't have to watch them. You just listen. And so that's what I end up doing. One of the other things that I watch and I try to find shows like this is Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about that before in previous episodes, but that might have gone all the way back to like the first episode. And I really like that show. And I like that show because there's no anticipation. It's very light. It's a very nice show to watch. I could have my son watch it with me and it would be fine. I don't because I don't watch what I want to watch when I'm around him, but because I don't try and turn on the TV for anything for me, but and only watch on my iPad. But that show really is just like a calming show that nothing bad is going to happen and it's all going to be wrapped up into a nice thing. And it's nice. It's nice to look back at the. It's nice to look back at and see how high schools are portrayed for different groups of kids and what it was like even 20 years ago in high school because this all took place before cell phones, or maybe it was like the very beginning of cell phones at some point. But I think that that really helps when watching the shows. I really like those shows of like pre cell phone time or like the basic cell phones of all you did was call and maybe text. I think that time period also in my own life when it was just so much simpler, when all you had to worry about was, hey, I have a cell phone and now people can get a hold of me. I think now that it's like email and apps and all this other stuff, that sometimes I get very caught up in it and I'm really trying to stop. I never really was into my phone until I was pregnant and I was alone and I was bored all the time. And I just used to just be on my phone all the time because I was just alone and I didn't want to watch TV all the time and I just wanted something else to do. So I'm really trying to break that habit now. I guess it's not as hard because I have a child and I just try and stay off of it. But that's so Sabrina is one of my all-time favorite, and if I wake up in the middle of the night and um, I if I can't sleep or and I get up, that's what I turn on because it's just very calming for me. All right, another show, and I know I've talked about this show before, is Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders Making the Team. And this is such a comfort show that I have had to make limits on when I can watch this show because I would just watch it all the time. And it's very hard because it is a show you actually have to watch. You can't just listen because they're talking about how the girls are dancing and how they're dancing wrong or how they're doing something wrong. So it's not one of those things that you even can really watch while cooking. Um, I could watch it while I'm getting ready in the morning. So, but I haven't done that in a long, long time. When I do watch it, oddly enough, is sometimes what I do is I used to only be able to use it when I was working out. And I typically would do that in the winter time because I would run on the treadmill or I would be on the elliptical machine or I would bike or something. Or I would do like a circuit of all those things in our gym. But right now, since I'm doing Insanity, I don't watch it at all in the morning, but that used to be my like go-to thing that I would need to watch. And when the season comes out, like my husband and I are watching it the next day because we don't have cable, so we have to buy it off I buy it off Amazon. So we watch it the next day, uh, when it comes out. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, that's our thing. Our son is asleep for nap. That's what we're watching the next day for those 10 weeks or 13 weeks, however long the show is. And I just absolutely love it. It's so great. It's so great to see past years and the present years. I just love that show. So the next two I'm going to kind of like lump together because I kind of feel like they go together. Now, these are a little more serious, but they have very fun elements and they're funny. And I think because I've seen them all, I know it's happening. But I would say Royal Pains and White Collar, they should both still be on Netflix. I know Royal Pains is. I don't know about White Collar. But those were two shows on USA, and when I was single and I lived on my own and I was so cool, on Saturday nights when I wasn't going out with my friends, which was often actually, I probably went out like maybe like once or twice a month at max on a Saturday night. And I I would say maybe then Friday and Saturday nights, I would save up watching these shows back when they were actually on the air. And I would watch, typically White Collar was in the winter and Royal Pains was in the summer. And there was another show, Covert Affairs, but I don't really, I mean, I never got past like the first three seasons of that. I would watch that on Saturday nights or weekend nights, I should say. And that was the show that I would watch. And I would make my dinner and clean up and like take my dog out for the last time and come back inside and we would watch this show. And I just have such fond memories of like drinking tea and having my dessert and watching these shows and totally like that's back when I actually sat down and watched television. Like I didn't have my phone on me. Like I didn't have apps. I wasn't looking at Facebook. I didn't care about that stuff. And I just sat there and I watched TV. And I would say that eventually I started knitting blankets. So I would be knitting blankets as I was watching that, baby blankets. And I just loved watching it. It was like this thing that I looked forward to every week. And I have this, especially with Royal Pains, which was like a doctor show that was set in the Hamptons. It was this awesome show that I just thought was so great in the summer. And I thought it gave such good insight. Not that it's true insight to the Hamptons, but I'm pretty sure it was filmed up there. At least parts of it was filmed up there. And I just thought it was so funny to see like the lifestyle of the uber rich of the Hamptons area. And I obviously it's sensationalized and whatnot, but it was so funny because they always had like the Real Housewives of New York like guest star on that show. Like I think every single one of them was eventually on that show. And I think it's because they filmed while it was happening. And then they did this special Christmas wedding episode one time. Oh, it was so great. So I really enjoyed those shows and I still enjoy it. And I actually started to just go back to Royal Pains and watching that also. And I don't know what the woman's real name, but on the show, her name is Divya. She is the most exquisite human being on the planet. I I love her wardrobe. I love her hair is like the most amazing hair I've ever seen. Everything about her. She's very talented. She's like a professional opera singer. And she is one of those women who wears pregnancy wonderfully. Like, I get that it's camera angles and all that stuff, but she just is a wonderful human being. She just looks wonderful all the time. So I love that show. One of the newfound um, what shows that I would say that I really find comfort in is The Office. And I didn't really always like The Office, and there are certain seasons that I like better. But there's also this new podcast with Office Ladies where the woman, Jenna Fisher, who was Pam, and Angela something, I don't know her last name, who played Angela on the show, have a podcast and they go through episode by episode talking about, what it was like to make the show, the guest stars, the producers, the directors, the writers. And it's so interesting to hear about the show and then go back and watch it. And it's pretty recent. They've only done season one and like a few episodes in season two. So it'll take them a long time to get all the way through. But it's really interesting to listen to the podcast and then watch the show back. So what my husband and I do is we, when we have extended car rides, we put on the podcast, and then that night we'll watch whatever show it is. And it's really neat to watch it back. So I kind of find comfort in that, especially because we're like rewatching the episodes, and we kind of have a purpose, like we're looking for things, we're trying to see how things work and everything. So that's that's very interesting for me. And I would say, to go along with that, last year my husband was like, "Let's watch this show Parks and Rec on Netflix." He's like, "It has a lot of great people in it," and he's like, "Let's just watch it." So he really watched it, and then like every once in a while, like I was in the room, and then we started watching it again from the beginning, and I actually got to see all of the episodes, and I really, really liked it. And I remember when that show came out, and that's with Amy Poehler and I don't even know, other people. I can't even think of anyone right now. And she works at the Parks and Recs department, and it's just like a comedy about that. And I think it's so cleverly done. I love the dynamics. I think I like that large cast dynamic. Like, there's nothing really like, I mean, I guess Modern Family is kind of like that, but I like The Office and Parks and Rec and even Friends. Um, I just don't like shows that just have like a few main characters. I like having like a great number of characters that you see. And I think that's what gives longevity to the show, because they can really use all the characters to really develop stories. So I really like that. And then I have some honorable mentions. So I wouldn't say these are my consistent comfort shows, but these are shows that I have maybe very fond memories of from watching them. So the first one is When Calls the Heart, and I think that that's a Lifetime show, and I haven't seen it in like I would say maybe 3 or 4 years. And it is a show, I don't know, set in Colorado, when Colorado was like first settled. So I don't know, like really settled, I would say. So I would say like 1850s, 1870s, the show is. I'm really making it up, so if I'm totally wrong, don't beat me up. I just I'm guessing the time period. And like it's just about this woman who moves out there to be the teacher in this town, and I just I have fond memories because I found that show when we moved into our present house that we're in now, and I would paint, like I was painting rooms, and I would put that on, and it would just play, and I would watch it, and I just have such fond memories. And every time I go into my office, because that's the room that I really had to paint, um, I it makes me think of that all the time, of that show, because that's what I did. I mean, for 3 days straight, that's all I did was paint, because I had to. The My office when we moved in was like a maroon red, and I wanted it like a really really bright blue, a blue green, I'll say. And so I had to prime it twice actually for the red, and then I had to do two coats with the blue. And it has like a weird ceiling feature where um, there's like extra, I don't even know how to describe it. There's just extra stuff at the top that I had to really like paint around, and it took me a very long time. So When Calls the Heart has a very, and that's on Netflix if you want to find it. But one of the other shows is Dance Academy, and that is also on Netflix. And that is about high school Australians who go to this special dance academy, and they have this show all about it. And it's a fake show. It's not like a documentary. And I have very fond memories of being pregnant and watching that show and just enjoying that show. And I only think there was like 2 seasons of it, but it was just very well done. And I want it, I don't think it's a BBC show, but um, it's just a great show. And then they had like a follow up show, like a few years later with a lot of the cast, but I didn't really watch that as much. So, and then the last show that I am going to talk about is One Day at a Time. And I found that show when after I broke my leg, but when I couldn't really do much, like I still couldn't walk a lot. And I definitely remember after having my knee surgery. So if I broke my my leg, ankle, knee stuff in August of 2018, February of 2019, I had to have surgery on my knee. And I remember I think I watched the first 2 seasons of One Day at a Time in like 3 days because of my surgery. And it was like the first time that I couldn't watch my son because I had had the surgery. And so I was in bed a lot and I couldn't really move. And I was also sick when I had that knee surgery, and I hid that from my surgeon because I didn't want him to not do the surgery. And so I also was sick. So I was just really being careful about being around anyone also. So I just have such fond memories. And that show has a little more serious undertones to it. But I kind of liked it. I really like that main woman who's in it. And it's about, I want to say I'm pretty sure it's a Cuban family living in America. And their heritage of, their Cuban heritage is very important to them. And the grandmother lives with the 2 kids and and the mom is a single mom. And they have a neighbor that they just they incorporate into their lives, and I think it's just a wonderful show. I just love that show so much, and I just wish I had more time to watch it all the time. It always comes up as like, keep going with this show, and I'm like, I will. But that's pretty much for the summer because I like to sit down and actually watch that show, not be on my phone, not do something else. Like I just want to watch that show because it's so good. I It's a show that I don't need to be doing something else with. So definitely One Day at a Time. If you don't have it on Netflix, go check it out. So it seems like a very long ad for Netflix, but that's all right. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to end the show. I'm not going to talk about the sugar fast today. I I think I'm just going to save all that stuff for a show in like, I think 3 weeks when it's over. So I just want to say that at the end of the show, I'm trying to start one thing that I really enjoy about my son. And right now, something that he does is that he will go into downward dog and lift up one of his legs. And he always wants whoever's with him to also do that. So I can't wait for one of the grandmothers to do that. But I don't think he does it for them. Right now, it's only my husband and myself. So yeah, I think that that's the cutest thing. And he'll do it, and then he'll look to you, and if you don't do it, he's like, "No, come on!" And he'll help you to get into position for it. So it's really funny. He's so funny with it. He just loves doing it. And it's not like he'll just do downward dog. It's got to be with the one leg up too. That's what I think is so cute about it. So, all right, that will wrap up our show for today. You can subscribe and write a review to wherever you listen to podcasts, and that would be great. So I will see you all next week. Bye.